the amount of money that goes into giving these influencers such lavish experiences and everything, audiences see right through it. How can brands improve this experience to create more of an exclusive community?
It feels quite transactional. It's almost like they're obliged to post it just because they receive something.
There's more of a kind of conscience around their carbon footprint. What do brands need to do to kind of get out of that quite traditional way of gifting?
I think ultimately gifting influencers products is all about building positive relationships with the influencers.
Starting to feel a little bit dated.
Yeah, quite frankly, it's a little bit boring.
Hello and welcome back to Have You Heard, the social media podcast from us, The Social Shepherd. I'm Lucy and today I'm joined by Becci, our influencer marketing manager from our influencer team. Welcome, Becci. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. It's lovely to be back again.
Woohoo! Yeah, glad to have you back. So today we want to have a chat about gifting and just, I think, the general approach around gifting influencers products and the general approach that brands have followed for the last few years starting to feel a little bit dated.
Yes.
I'm really starting to think about how can brands improve this experience to create more of an exclusive community with their influencer partners, to create more hype and to keep audiences engaged and everything. So I guess kind of something that we've really noticed and we've all been talking a lot about recently is just in general, I think influencers do get a lot of products sent to them, don't they? We see a lot of like unboxing videos across TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and stories and everything. It's still kind of, I think there's this consensus influencers feel like it's still really interesting to be sharing their PR haul with their audience and everything. But it's really kind of starting to get to a point where audiences are so overly familiar with how influencer marketing works now that that kind of content just isn't really resonating with them. And therefore, when brands are sending influencers products for those, you know, new product launches or whatever it is that's happening, it's just not landing as well anymore. What would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've actually heard cases where influencers are asking to be removed from PR lists because they're receiving so many products. Influencers are often posting these what I got in the post videos on their stories, and it just feels really inauthentic. It feels quite transactional. It's almost like they're obliged to post it just because they receive something. And quite frankly, it's a little bit boring.
One thing that has been kind of a common trend for so many years, I think this particularly comes from beauty brands as well, where they've got these new product launches and what they will do is they will send every possible shade in the product range. So whether it's a lipstick, a foundation, anything, they send them every single possible product that's available in these very kind of bespokely produced and packaged boxes. And what you start to see is influencers kind of go, they'll actually share it in their content. Like, I actually can't recycle this. There's more of a kind of conscience around like their carbon footprint and just the amount of product and packaging that they have to try and get rid of. I think a lot of the time you see influencers kind of talking about how they receive so many products that they end up having to kind of give them away to friends and family, give them away to charity, which probably isn't the intention of the brand. They don't really want that necessarily to be happening. And so it's really starting to think about there is obviously a massive problem here, and what do brands need to do to kind of get out of that, you know, quite traditional now way of gifting to start to make it feel a bit more interesting and exclusive with those influencers.
Yeah, 100%. I think we need to get to a point where the influencers are asking to be on the PR list rather than asking to be removed from it. And in order for that to happen, there needs to be a sense of exclusivity. And I think when the influencer really desires what the brand's offering, that's when they're going to be more likely to share with their audience and to have that association.
Definitely. I think it's kind of as well, you know, it's acknowledging the fact that when a lot of influencers start out, being part, you know, reaching out to platforms and brands to almost subtly ask to be put on their PR list is quite a common thing that happens. But kind of as they typically kind of grow, they start getting more brand deals and everything. They start to make more money from being an influencer. The desire to be on all of these PR lists and everything starts to, it comes across as if it feels like it's less of a want, really. Yeah. But you will see those influencers that are a lot larger, far more established, or I think what's actually really important is acknowledging the relevance of an influencer 100%. As well, because then it starts to feel like when a brand has a new product launch and they gift it to an influencer, if they partner with those very relevant influencers at that time and gift them these products, it creates a sense for the influencer, a sense of this is quite an exclusive relationship. Like, oh, I've been one of the select few who's been selected to receive this product. Don't want to kind of dwell on it too much, but I think a brand that's really kind of had a lot of attention recently is Rhode, which is Hailey Bieber's beauty brand, where she gifted, or the brand gifted the new cleanser that was being launched, and it was packaged in a bath bomb, which only encouraged influencers to want to kind of create content showing the unveiling of what was inside this bath bomb. It kind of essentially made for quite an experiential content opportunity and gifting opportunity. And likewise, where there's been this phone case that's been released and kind of gifted to a select number of influencers, because it's then gone on to create so much mass hype that people can now buy this phone case, which has been really interesting to see how that's kind of gone down and everything. But I think the point we want to be making is around, it's this sense of exclusivity between the brand and the influencer, and building this kind of long-term journey with them, so that when there are these new product launches or these exclusive kind of gifting opportunities, if you, the influencer, are selected to receive that product, that's a really big deal. And you start to feel like you're part of, a very exclusive group of people that are really kind of more deeply engaging with the brand, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I think Rhode only picked the most relevant, best of the best influencers. So because of that, all of the influencers wanted to post because they feel like they're part of this exclusive group and they felt really lucky to be included in it. And I think that really showed in all the organic content that we saw.
Definitely. And I guess kind of other ways that brands can start to really think outside the box a little bit more is, obviously there's things like, influencer trips and everything has been something as part of the wider influencer industry for a really long period of time now. But sometimes what we've often seen is those influencer trips where, again, a very select few are invited to maybe go to the product development factory or something, or to go and meet the founders or something like that. And it's almost forming these very kind of like tightly knit relationships with select influencers to kind of suggest, we really value you and everything that you deliver in terms of promoting our brand and the products and our ethos to your audience. And we see a real alignment with your values, our values. Therefore, we want you to be part of our journey as a growing brand, and for you to kind of come along with that. As opposed to sometimes what has happened in the past. And again, I think it happens with a lot of beauty brands and fashion brands in particular, is they will invite anyone and everyone on these massive trips. And for the audience, it starts to just come across as a little bit icky sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you see like the amount of money that goes into giving these influencers kind of such lavish experiences and everything. And audiences see right through it. Yeah. Whereas those kind of very tightly knit, select influencer relationships where you get that exclusive product before anyone else, or you get to be invited on these very special trips. You as a user watching that relationship unfold with your favorite influencers over a longer period of time, it feels far more believable that influencer actually advocates for that brand, because there is more of this like closer connection they quite clearly have with the brand. And it's kind of thinking about that, I would say.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think ultimately gifting influencers products is all about building positive relationships with the influencers.
Sure.
And you want them to become advocates for the brand. You want them to essentially become ambassadors. And the best way of doing that is to completely immerse them in the brand, to take them on a really experiential trip, to give them behind the scenes access, to make them feel like they are part of the brand.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So I guess in terms of like to wrap this all up, what would we say are the kind of the real key points brands need to consider to move with the times, get a bit more modern with their gifting approach?
Yeah, so I think the gifting landscape has changed so much in the last 10 years, and it's no longer enough to just send an influencer a product. There's 3 things that you really need to consider. You need to make the influencers feel that sense of exclusivity. You can't just be sending products out to everyone and anyone. It needs to be completely relevant and on target. There has to be a need and a want from that influencer. And the third and final point is making sure that whatever you're doing is experience led. So you really need to think outside the box. It needs to be creative. It needs to cut through all the noise on social media. So whether you're sending them on a really experiential trip to completely immerse them in the brand, or whether you're sending the product in a really immersive packaging so that the influencer can't resist but share on their story. So for example, putting it in a bath bomb like Rode did. It's just thinking creatively and making sure that they do post and it feels authentic.
Nice. Gotta get with the times. All right. Amazing. Well, thanks so much for listening. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and we will see you soon.